Good morning, good afternoon, good evening. Welcome back to the channel where we talk about economics and crypto and lots of other fun things. In today's video, we're going to talk about Bitcoin and Ethereum. And I'm just going to tell you up front, I feel like in this moment, at least, I have a good feel for what's going on in the market with Bitcoin and a little bit with Ethereum, but mostly focused on Bitcoin, which drives the market. I think I have a good feel for what's going on, and I'm excited to present that to you. So, you're panicking, whatever, it's all good, guys. It's okay. We are in a moment that just we need to make our way through, and we'll get through that. Okay, so do me a favor, hit the like button, turn on the subscribe button, or the notification button, whatever it is that you want to do to help the channel, I would greatly appreciate it. But let's go ahead and dive on into this. So, fun fact, Bitcoin just printed 12 consecutive red hourly candles, a first for 2025. When this tweet was made, Bitcoin was 104,488. I entered a scalp long, seeing 12 consecutive red candles, low leverage, scalp long. Maybe I'm going to be in the positive. I have a tight stop. Maybe not. We'll see. By the time you're watching this video, most of you will know how I did on that long. I did have a short that was closed already. It was stopped out and in profit. And so now I'm in a long, and we'll see. We will see. But I see 12 red candles. I think at some point there's going to be a green candle. But in a little bit of a broader view here. So a few things: Glassnode, Axel Adler, Crypto Quant. They make regular appearances on this channel. Thank you to all of you. So from Glassnode first, Bitcoin 25 Delta skew flip over the past week suggests a strong risk-off sentiment. 1 week skew jumped from minus 2.6 to 10.1. 1 month from minus 2.2 to 4.9. Close to the levels leading up to Liberation Day, meaning, this is what it means, traders are increasingly hedging or speculating on downside risk. In other words, this is focused on traders. There are many, many different cohorts to take into consideration when we're thinking about where are we going with Bitcoin. And short-term holders are going to have an effect, the biggest effect, on short-term price. And so, and then a thing that I will always tell you guys who are regulars on this channel is that short-term is just noise. We're not here for short-term. We're here for gains, yes, but a lot can happen short-term. And what we're seeing on chain is evidence that short-term, there's some downside risk. And that's perfectly fine. I've talked about this ABC correction, this wave that we were in, that how much downside do we have to go is the question that you should be asking yourselves. Now, I have an opinion on that. I have an opinion that we are somewhere a little under $100,000, that Bitcoin will make its way there over the next few weeks or even a month, maybe even a month and a half. At some point, Bitcoin will go down under $100,000, and that will be a good buying opportunity. But we'll see. Now, that's all short term. So, but on a longer term, there's a lot to take into consideration. That what we should expect is that the dips are not going to be all that significant. We're not talking about, from the peak at least, a 30% dip. We're probably not talking about a 20% dip. A 20% dip would be, around $90,000. We're not talking about Bitcoin at $90,000. We're talking about Bitcoin perhaps under $100,000 for a time. And everything else that I'm going to show you when we're talking about Bitcoin points to that would be the case. So we have from CryptoCon here. I've talked about this before. This is another hash ribbon buy signal. And we got one just a few weeks ago, which was a thing that gave me confidence that we're not going all that much lower. So here we go. If one Bitcoin hash ribbons buy signal wasn't enough, we just got another one back to back. This, in combination with low volatility, has never failed to produce a good run. Oh, and no moves to the high volatility zone where we've seen all cycle tops. This is the weed out cycle. Only the patient will make it to the end. Look at historically every hash ribbon buy signal. They're all circled. So the buys with low volatility, those are ones that are signaled. Is there times of chop? Is there times where the hash signal buy happened and then we chopped for a little bit? Yes, but if you look historically, what you'll see is that there's very little downside. I mean, July of 2024 was what maybe the biggest example of like, okay, we still had to chop for a little bit, and then on August 5th we bottomed out at 48,000 and change dollars for Bitcoin, but shortly after that we rose. But every other time has been either, has been short-term chop followed by a move up. January 2019, I mean, that was very close to the bottom in the last bear market. October 2016, perfect time to buy. May 2015, we did have a big liquidation flush out after that, but if you held on after that, you were rewarded with that. And the last time that I shared this, what we saw was it was a comparison to this November 2020 Bitcoin hash ribbon buy signal. And what happened after that is that Bitcoin exploded in price. And that last buy signal was very comparative because we were still in an uptrend. We were in a very good spot to we were moving higher. A lot of these hash ribbon buys are after dumps. So the fact that we got that hash ribbon buy signal at that time gave me a lot of confidence that, again, with Bitcoin, we're just not going all that much lower. Now, we got a second one. I don't know what to make of that. Aside from, this gives me more confidence, honestly, that you hold on to your Bitcoin short term, you're going to be fine. I mean, you hold it long term, obviously you're going to be fine. But if you're trying to make gains off of your Bitcoin, then you will eventually be fine. Altcoins, if Bitcoin is going to rise significantly, altcoins will rise as well. But a lot of the charts for altcoins don't look so good right now. So you got to be patient. I did make a tweet sharing from my Sunday video my thoughts as to what would be good entries for some different cryptos there. So check out that Sunday video on this channel. Moving on, we have from Axel Adler Jr., a couple of them from Axel Adler. So first we have coin days destroyed. We're talking about coin days destroyed here. CDD momentum reflects the change in the average coin days destroyed indicator over a month compared to the level 30 days ago. When the value drops below zero, it signals weakened activity from, here's the cohort here, experienced holders. All right, the previous one from Glassnode, we had short-term holders. This is experienced holders. Fewer, quote, older coins are being spent on transfers, while growth above zero indicates acceleration in coin turnover, essentially sales. In recent weeks, we have seen a sustained drop in momentum below the zero level. This corresponds to a decline in monthly CDD dynamics after a series of local peaks. Essentially, experienced sellers have stopped selling coins. So we're seeing short-term holders are going more risk off. In other words, they are selling. The older holders, the ones who've been holding for long-term, they are slowing down with their selling. Anytime Bitcoin hits a new all-time high, literally every time, you are going to see coin days destroyed increase because selling pressure increases. So we hit a new all-time high. Bitcoin got to 112. And now we're kind of cooling off a little bit, and that momentum is swinging back to the negative, which is a good thing. And yeah, moving on also, all right, we look at the entire long-term holder cohort. Their spending is currently close to minimum levels. Essentially, the current minimum in LTH spending coincides with the classic accumulation phase. In 3 out of 4 previous similar cases, such LTH behavior, long-term holder behavior, led to Bitcoin growth over 18 to 25% over the following 6 to 8 weeks. The current weakness of the LTH binary indicator is supported by positive coin day destroyed momentum, which is what we just looked at, and MVRV Z-score values. I've talked about the MVRV Z-score a lot. It's just generally more bullish to see that Z-score lower, which strengthens the probability of continued bullish momentum. And we can see that there every time. Here's his highlights. Every time what's preceded, 3 of the last 4 times, is 18 to 25% growth. And then the last time that didn't happen, we were just in the middle of a 200-day range. So worst case scenario, we're just in the middle of a long range. Worst case, IMO. So moving on, crypto Quant, permanent holder demand is accelerating. So here's a cohort I don't really think about all that much, but instead of long-term holder, Permanent holder demand is accelerating. This signal often precedes Bitcoin rallies and reflects long-term conviction. So you see the accelerated growth, you see kind of a parabola forming. And when's the last time we saw that? November 2024, going into December, boom, it peaks. Anytime you see that kind of momentum, that's a good sign for eventually the price going much higher. So good to see. Okay, that is mostly it for Bitcoin. No, it's not. Oh yeah, yes it is. Excuse me. Is that it for Bitcoin? Yeah, okay. No, here we go. I thought I had one more. CryptoQuant.com, Binance whales and Bitcoin retail inflows at lows. This pattern indicates strong preference for holding rather than selling. So who's selling? The short-term holders are selling, but a large majority of the other cohorts are just holding. Notably, both whales and retail investors appear aligned in their approach. And so what are we doing right now? We are holding, and it makes sense to hold. It would have made sense a couple weeks ago to sell at Bitcoin 112. Now it makes sense to hold. And that's what most cohorts are doing right now. So next, we have Bitcoin and MicroStrategy. If you are a MicroStrategy investor, you're a fan, here's a little bit of a warning that there is a time, absolutely, when it makes sense to accumulate MicroStrategy shares. That time is not now. The bottom of the bear market is a perfect time to buy MicroStrategy. MicroStrategy got to $13 in the bear market. And it got up to over 400. That's a much more significant return than if you just bought Bitcoin. But if you look at 2021, it's a different story for MicroStrategy versus Bitcoin. MicroStrategy's peak in 2021 was actually around $42,000. And then, for Bitcoin, and then Bitcoin got up to 64.9, dumped, got up to 69,000. MicroStrategy did not do that. And it may be same deal, MicroStrategy or Bitcoin got up to $100,000, a little under $100,000, and MicroStrategy peaked. And it may be that the peak for MSTR is behind us. I would not be surprised at all if that's what's happened. Similar things have happened with Bitcoin miners in the past. And here we are now. And what was the peak for MSTR? It was in late 2024. And Bitcoin has put in a new all-time high, but MicroStrategy is nowhere near that. So just FYI, keep that in mind. I wouldn't be touching MicroStrategy all that much right now. But let's moving on. I did say that on purpose. So Ethereum, a couple reasons why I'm confident holding Ethereum right now. Last week we saw 195.32K ETH flow into the US spot ETH ETFs, the third largest net weekly flow on record. And you can see that heavy accumulation in December during the peak of that local top there. And here we are during a time when sentiment is much lower and Ethereum accumulation is back. And then you can see just a lot more green recently. And that's what we're seeing with the spot Ethereum ETFs. We are seeing evidence that they are now much more in accumulation. Grayscale has sold off their shares. Or not, they've sold off their ETH, excuse me. Not all of it, but enough that now we can be net positive. The first 6 months of the spot Ethereum ETF's existence, we were net negative. And eventually we did flip net positive. Now we're net positive. And now we are seeing we're seeing multiple times the amount of ETH minted per day is being accumulated by the ETFs. So it's a good sign. And also from CryptoQuant.com, Ethereum hits all-time high in staking, over 35 million ETH locked. Alongside this accumulation, addresses holders with no history of selling have also reached an all-time high, now holding 22.8 million ETH. You can see the chart here. Staking is at an all-time high. Obviously, that naturally forms a less selling pressure. And think about, what happens when staking gets approved with the ETFs. Then this is going to skyrocket. And maybe that will be a catalyst to higher prices for Ethereum, for the entire crypto market. So Bitcoin is right now a little bit lower than my entry, and it's all good. I'm not sweating it at all. And so 12 straight hours, maybe this will be 13, 14, 15 straight hours of Bitcoin going down. It's all good. Remember, I just want to remind you, ABC correction is my mindset right now, and that we are in the C wave. So the A wave, pretty clear A wave right there. The B wave was only 4 days. That was pretty wild. The C wave, we're on our way. What would that look like? Could it look like a back test of this trend line? Could it look like a bounce off the 200-day moving average, or could the stars align for all of those to happen? And maybe we'd even go down, a few $1,000s under 96,000, under 100,000, excuse me. We'll see. That's my expectation short term, and that does not bode well for altcoins all that much. Bitcoin dominance looks like it's in a V-shaped recovery. Just like the stock market, I hate to report that to you. I'm sorry to say that seems to be the case right now. And so where do we go from here? We'll figure it out. But I'm comfortable holding Bitcoin and Ethereum, and maybe I'll give a few other alts. So anyway, that's all I have for today. I hope you have a wonderful day, a wonderful rest of your week, and I will most certainly be seeing you in another video. Peace.